Welcome to today's episode where we delve into the intricate connection between our mind and our body, particularly through the lens of internal family systems therapy, or IFS, and its application in pelvic health. It's fascinating how the nervous system intertwines our emotional and physical experiences, often manifesting as a variety of symptoms that many people face daily: bladder pain, UTI like symptoms, urgency, constipation, loose stools, painful intercourse, and even diminished arousal and pleasure. These all can be signs of deeper issues within our nervous system. We've all experienced moments when we feel on top of the world, only to have those same troubling symptoms resurface, leaving us feeling trapped in a revolving door of temporary relief. I see this all the time. People come to me, I had success, I felt better for a while, and now it's back. So it's frustrating to say the least. But what if we could break this cycle? What if there was a way to not just manage symptoms, but understand the root causes? In their insightful book, The Secret Language of the Body, my colleague and friend Cardin Rabin and Jennifer Mann emphasize bringing awareness to the body's communications, as well as having interruption strategies and for the mind and the body, as well as the human. And this is where they get into, and where I discovered internal family systems work, is understanding why are we having these body responses and what is the root cause, and being able to address that. So, these techniques serve as a starting point for healing, but today we're going to explore how internal family systems can take us even further. IFS encourages us to look beneath the surface, to explore the driving forces and the triggers that were established during our developmental years. It invites us to befriend our protectors, those parts of ourselves that have taken on roles to shield us from past trauma or pain. But we don't always understand them, and we can fear them even. So, by understanding and embracing these inner protectors, we can cultivate a deeper healing process that allows us to address the dysregulation that often leads to the physical symptoms. In today's podcast, Angie Lieber, IFS coach, will review key questions surrounding these concepts, including the purpose and benefits of our guest's upcoming workshop, Befriend Your Protectors. So, Angie's going to, if you like this information, stay tuned. She's going to have an upcoming workshop that will give you more. And we'll explore how integrating IFS into pelvic health can empower individuals to move beyond temporary fixes and into lasting healing. So, whether you're a healthcare practitioner, someone navigating pelvic health challenges themselves, or simply curious about the mind body connection, join us as we uncover the profound insights that internal family systems can offer. Let's embark on this journey to foster awareness, healing, and ultimately a more harmonious relationship with our bodies, parts, and self. Welcome to the Essential Pelvic Health Podcast. I am Laura Rowan, pelvic health occupational therapist, and I have here Angie Lieber, interfamily systems coach. Angie, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for joining me.
Thank
Um,
you.
I already kind of introduced what we're talking about, and I haven't really disclosed kind of the connections in the work that we've been doing. So, can you please just give us a little brief background about kind of who you are, what you do, and how you discovered internal family systems work?
Yeah, sure. So I have a background in psychiatric care for children many years ago. I then moved on to a nonprofit advancement, helping nonprofits grow and fundraise. And then during COVID, I said, I want to go back to doing internal work. I got very internal. I wanted to do internal work, and I started to coach. And while I was coaching and doing courses, I was doing an exercise that I learned from Dr. Phil Stutz. I don't know if you know who he is. There was a television show called Stutz and he wrote a great book. And in it, he takes the idea of the Jungian shadow self and projects it outside. So if we have shadow cells that are like fear or anger and they just take over our systems. What would happen if you projected it and made it a person
Okay.
and then developed a relationship with that person? And while I was running this course and I had people developing relationships with their shadow self, someone said, "Do you know IFS? This sounds like IFS." And I said, "No, I have no idea." And then I went and I started to learn about IFS. And I went on an incredible week-long retreat with Dick Schwartz. And I was hooked in this concept that we all have sort of sub-personalities in us. Some of them are protectors, some of them are managers, some of them are exiles. And these parts of ourselves need our attention. But the goal really is to not let them be you, but let them be with you. So another component of the self is the self, and the self is compassionate and curious. And when you have self energy that you can bring to these parts, as opposed to, I want to get rid of them, they're awful, my neurotic part that makes me ruminate too much, I hate it. Get to know it, understand what it is actually asking of you, and build a healthy attachment to it. So that attachment part is actually based on Bowlby, which is an you know, before Dick Schwartz, psychoanalytic thinker, that there's something called good enough mothering. That was Winnicott. And Bowlby said, we need to develop healthy attachments to our children. So internalizing that and saying, I'm going to build healthy attachments to these parts makes it so there's so much more self-compassion, and your system can actually begin to calm itself a little bit. So that's how I got into it. And now I bring it into all my coaching and all my work. I also work more deeply than just coaching. And it's been essential in my life as well.
Yeah. And I think I thought it was, I kind of mentioned the universe always kinds of like has its like magic ways of bringing people together or finding our pathways. And I think it's just so exciting that as a pelvic health occupational therapist, so as an OT, I'm very mental health founded, right?
Yeah.
And it's very holistic. It's all mind body. It's all this interplay through the nervous system. And in my pathway and my clients and my explorations and curiosities have led me to internal family systems to really make those deeper connections. And then the work also brought me to you. So what are your thoughts in like, were you surprised to find internal family system conversations relating to pelvic health?
Yeah. So I'm going to just share a little bit about sort of, you know, the attachment part and
Mhm.
developing healthy relationships. So in our work together, I had this terrible pelvic pain. It started a year ago, Laura. Horrible pelvic pain. I mean, it started, I had a little bit before a year ago, but a year ago I went into full on spasm. And I would lie there and I'd be like, how do I get rid of this pain? And a book I read called A Headache in the Pelvis, which is, a little dated. It has its own things to it, sort of allowed me to kind of say, how much can I talk to this pain? How much can I give it what it needs? Um, and it's tough. It's tough work, but you actually, in our work together, we were able to kind of see the pelvis, which is this crazy small, crazy region of so much stuff, just like our brains, and it's sort of a microcosm of the body, just so much stuff. Um, we're able to break down, oh, okay, this is happening. And what would it feel like if you softened that piece of the pain or that concerned part, you know, the gluteus medius tightens when the pain happens. That doesn't help. That puts more pressure on the pudendal nerve, right? So
Yeah.
how can I, when I'm in that pain, relax the gluteus medius? And all of these parts need my attention. And it's hard. It's not easy work. And I would say the same thing when someone's in a mental health crisis and we use IFS. I'm not saying it's perfect, it's going to happen in, 2 hours, their burdens are going to be released. It's hard work. But getting to know these parts of your body and of your, so, your system and the parts of your, I call it the system. It's not just the mind because they're all over you. Um, Getting to know these sub-personalities and really developing a really healthy relationship and unburdening them takes time. And
Yeah.
the same
And
thing with pelvic health. It
yeah,
takes
and a lot
time.
of effort and energy.
Yeah, it takes time, effort, and energy and softening as well, right? Softening into it so it's a balance.
Yeah, because a lot of times we want to just kind of muscle the healing,
Right, right.
right? Strong arm it, just fix it, right?
Just stop.
And
And you
it's
were the one that told me so much about how softening a recovery is a part of what I have to be doing right now because even though my mind thinks I'm 38, I'm not anymore. And I'm far not anymore. And what does it feel like to say, okay, I'm going to take a moment right now and be with this pain or be with this part of me that needs my attention and not feel like I need to stamp it out and carve it out.
yeah, because a lot of times if you think about that tension, so going back to the glute, right? That or the pelvic floor, that tension that's there is often a protective response, right? It's our nervous system, it's our brain stem feeling unsafe or dysregulated and
Right,
creating tension to protect. And that tension doesn't always serve us, but it's just what it knows how to do. And so
right.
we can identify that, we can find that, we can work with it on a like mechanical level. But then when we layer in the not just the protective tension, but the protective parts, like what is behind it? Why did it show up? That's where the magic is.
Yes, yes.
So tell us a little bit about so like these protective parts sometimes can be scary, right? And Dick Schwartz, you mentioned I read his intro to IFS, and he has another book. He has I think multiple books, but I also read the No Bad Parts. So
Yeah.
like understanding that sometimes we don't like these parts, like it feels we have shame, we have anger, we have rage, or we like what are these parts? We don't like them. We feel like we're bad people if they show up. But tell us about the workshop that's coming up September 19th.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
called Befriend Your Protectors.
Right. And you're reminding me that the other thing about that is that, same thing in your work, we're sick. We need to pathologize this. We're sick. That's what we have been when you go to doctors. Oh, it's broken. You have your body is broken. No, right? Nothing is broken. Everything is serving a purpose. And what it's telling you is, I need attention and maybe I need some love and care.
Yeah.
And so when you and I have worked together, we've looked at, oh, what parts of my body just need my pelvic floor. I remember once we were like, oh, my pelvic floor is now my pet. And sometimes it's going to act out, and sometimes it needs my attention. I'm just going to be with it, and I'm going to give it food, and I'm going to treat it like a part of the family. So the befriending your protectors is the idea of those parts of you that you think are you that are broken, right? I'm not fixable. I'm broken because I can't get out of bed. I'm broken. I can't get out of bed. You're not broken. You have a part of you, that is needing some attention. And let's begin to kind of see if that part of you can be objectified a little bit. That this comes also from object relations theory, which is just, developing a relationship to the object. And that object or that part is your avoidance part, right? It's not letting you get out of bed, but what does it need? What is it, and what is it asking for? Why is it burdened with avoiding the day so much? And developing a relationship and seeing if you can go slowly, just like you and I did with our pelvic work. Go slowly, maybe just take your foot out of the bed and see how that feels and talk to the part along the way. Now, that's an extreme case of somebody who has deep clinical depression. But some of us have just parts that are reactive, right? Like I was having a conversation with my brother who sometimes says something and he doesn't really mean to say something a little bit that goes whatever, but instead of saying, oh, you just said something that, I'm just not going to pay attention to, that, whatever, let it go. My scrappy little sister part took over and I just pushed and I pushed and I pushed and I pushed. I pushed until he was feeling so bad that I actually ended up having to apologize. And then I was flooded with, oh, why do I do that? Why do I push? Why do I? So getting to know these parts of us, also forgiving them, right? And acknowledging them and saying to the person, I have this part that comes over and I really need to just apologize to you for being flooded with this part. But you getting to know that part and saying, hey, what do you really need? Thank you so much for protecting me. But that was a little overprotective. How can we unburden you from this job that you do when you get triggered? And it's really exciting work. It's really exciting work because it also in the workplace and at home with your children and with your spouse, getting to know these parts that just keep coming in all the time and you think are you. Oh, it's really hard to let go, right? And and you, it's probably the same thing, right? With your work, it's hard to let go of the pain. People are like, I'm holding on to dear life, right?
Well, there's that. And, I've really found the one question very helpful, especially when someone gets afraid or stuck or starts to disassociate. Um, I ask them, I kind of have them tell me what they're feeling in their body if they can, if they're in a place where they can communicate that. And then if they're not, I ask them what's showing up, what part is showing up, what is the
Yeah,
emotion, what is
right.
what are you feeling, and when they say it, then we can ask. Embarrassed was one example.
Yeah,
They said embarrassed, and I was like, okay, so what is this embarrassment afraid will happen if it doesn't show up? That
yes.
was like such a huge question. And then they sat and thought about it and they said nothing. And you could see the complete release, the shift from
Yeah.
frozen and stuck and afraid to, oh, okay, let's do this thing.
Yeah. And I love that what you're saying to me now is as a therapist for pelvic health, I'm also working with emotions to let people go and not just with pain, right? Like also working with the that embarrassed part that comes in and having the person actually have a conversation or you doing what's called direct access, having a conversation with that part and saying, "Hey, what would happen if you stopped showing up with in John's system? What would happen if what would happen to John? What do you feel would happen to John?" And some people, right, feel that if I didn't have shame, I wouldn't be an acceptable human, right? I wouldn't be, I need my shame. And we do, to a degree, need shame. And the work that you do is like really in our intergenerational thousands of years of no one goes there. No one talks about that. So the respect for, oh, of course there's shame there. That's normal. And yet, how can we just be with it and let it go and talk to it, let it soften, and not have it just own it, be our whole system,
Yeah.
be me, you know? And that's difficult work because people are afraid to let go of the shame. They are.
Yeah. And that's what I imagine we're going to get into, because and we've done work together, you as my IFS coach. So, and what I find really connecting is to be able to work past some of my stuck parts or my confused parts in my family life. Like, so to be able to parent, to be a parent, I've really discovered I have to understand what I needed as a kid and where my developmental nervous system got dysregulated and where these kind of subconscious responses are coming from. So that's I've felt not only as a pelvic health therapist, but personally in my like as a parent, right? And just
Yeah.
individual has been
Yeah.
really
Yep.
profound work.
100%.
Yeah. So tell us about the Befriend Your Protectors workshop. Like who, like what are you going to get into?
So it's 2 hours. So it's pretty much a beginner's course to a degree, of just learning how to unblend,
Okay.
looking inside, taking a moment, unblending from the feeling that's coming up, seeing if it can be with you, and then also sort of starting to, and I don't like the word objectify, right? But it's more about uh, separating it from you so that your self energy can develop a relationship with it, so that the part of you that we all have, it's not a part, it's self, that we all have, this compassionate, curious, calm, and really, creative self can say, ah, I understand why you're around. I understand why this feeling is happening. I get it. And I'm going to kind of get to know you. And we're probably going to do a little bit of a mapping exercise where we'll get to know that part and then the next part that shows up and then the next part that shows up because, we're always active. Our systems are always moving and get to know these different parts, and see if there's time to build a healthy, curious relationship with them.
Okay. And it sounds like we'll be able to do a little processing for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And then
The,
maybe take away a practice that we can continue to explore on our own.
yes, exactly. So then there's little time afterwards so that you can continue to explore it on your own. And the thing about IFS, which is I love, is that it's a conversation internal, right? This is internal family systems is a weird term, but it's the idea was when Dick Schwartz was working with families, he saw that like in order for them to manage their functionality, there could be an exile or one person that was sort of exiled from the family. And in order to be functional, how could the parents and the other kids or the kids get to know this person that they've exiled and really just keep them in the family, right? To get to know them and develop some curiosity and compassion for them. So he took that system internally. So that's why it's called internal family systems.
So instead of like external family members, we've got all these internal family
Internal
members
family
at the
systems,
heart.
and they're not like mother and father and whatever, they're just people, right? It's just a he thinks of them as real people. I think of them as just parts that are, it's more imagination for me. So The great thing about IFS when I work with clients is they never have to tell me their story.
Mhm.
Their story is their story. The parts that come up, I can ask them, okay, so what are you feeling? And when did you see that part earlier? But the reality is that the whole narrative of how the trauma happened isn't necessary for me to know. It's a real internal process and a conversation that they can have with these hurting parts in their system.
Yeah. And I think when you just said that, it made me think of the point of trauma. So it's not necessarily that someone has to have had a big T, a major trauma for this to be applicable. Sometimes it's not always what was done to us, but what didn't we receive? What didn't we get that we needed?
Yeah,
And that has just kind of been a part of us and unknowingly.
right.
So like if you're thinking if you're hearing trauma and you're like, oh, I haven't really had a major trauma, and you don't relate to that, this still is going to be profound. I feel I just can't talk highly enough of it because it really starts to make those connections that you just wouldn't have ever like even thought of
Yeah.
that really made a big imprint on your nervous system and your responses throughout your adult life, but you just would never think of it, and it just helps bubble up those and be able to actually process them in a way that it just I can't explain it, but you feel it change, you feel a
Yeah.
shift. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a very calming process. It's very calming. The shift for me, at least, has been, these parts of myself that I was so angry at before, especially uh, I have this hyper little child inside of me. And whenever she comes out, I'm like, why are you here? And I am starting to realize, oh, she's totally just a child. Like she's a child. She's playful and she just wants to be part of the conversation. And isn't that lovely? And to get to know, it's like, oh, this calm. I can actually, instead of spending my energy getting rid of this, I can spend my energy loving it. That's a choice, you know? And another thing that you bring up at the big T, little t, which is really important, is that we all make meaning differently, right? We're all make meaning differently. We think, oh, what's trauma? How you experience life is how you experience life. And one of the things that I'm so aware of is how much work we do both as we get older, but also that our parents left us to do for them. So the work of, whatever it is, it's called, it's a legacy burden that your parents left you, but then there's also intergenerational things that people don't even know that the fact that their grandparent had escaped a war-torn country has come down to infiltrate, or that's not a good word, but to become a part of their system. And so
yeah.
they need to, maybe have conversations with that part that comes all the way down from generations.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not about pointing fingers about
Yeah.
what our parents did or didn't do or what their parents did or didn't do. It's the biological imprint as well as the modeling that we see and that we hand down. It's just we have so much more awareness now, which is what's beautiful. And now we can start to kind of break the cycle. We can undo
Yeah.
some of that, unpack it
Yeah.
and kind of own it for
Yeah.
ourselves and for our kids and future generations.
Yes, and for our bodies.
Yes.
This is a very body-centered work, right? We have to remember that, at least I feel that if we walk around as tense and thinking our anger is justified and we're angry and we walk around angry, it's going to impact our bodies. So the ability to separate from your anger, to get to know and understand how it's protecting you or how it's managing your day, it's how it's getting you through, and unburden it, or a part that's burdened with anger, and unburden it from that anger, calms your whole system down. So I don't see a mind-body dialectic. I really see it as one thing.
Yeah. So I think Bessel van der Kolk, either Bessel van der Kolk or the writer of the Mind Body Prescription, Peter, no,
Peter Levine?
yeah, Levine, yes.
Yeah,
One of them
systematic
says they
experiencing.
write mind body without a hyphen. They're like, it's one word, it's one
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, totally.
Okay, so let's wrap up. I think we gave our listeners a lot to think about. I really hope we'll put it in the show notes for the workshop. I'm going to be there and really excited to join Befriend Your Protectors and do some more exploration. And I hope to see you guys there. We'll put the information so you can register. Any parting words that you would like to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I do. I want to say that the work of the pelvic health therapist and pelvic rehabilitation folks is so is so essential to our healthcare system right now. And my gratitude to a group of people that can see this one region as systemic, as part of a whole system, and not just focus on the muscle or not just focus on the mechanics or not just focus on the nerve, but see the whole thing and the value you bring to healthcare in my world is I'm so grateful, is so invaluable. It's priceless. So I want to just do a shout out for all the pelvic health therapists, and just keep doing what you're doing, keep learning, and using IFS or even EMDR, which is exciting, and all the disruptive systems that help you, you know, disrupt the pain that is also in your mind, is just really very, very, very key. So I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. You're going to make me cry. And yeah, the work works. And that's why I'm so passionate about doing it and spreading it. And so thank you for that.
And I do hope everyone, at least if you're not coming to Befriend Your Protectors, just pick up a book about IFS and learn something. It's not rocket science. It's really not rocket science. It's very clear and really amazing approach to mindfulness.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay. Talk
Bye.
to you soon, Laura.